Oh, should I be singing Have a Very Merry Christmas? Or should I say the man who recently had a birthday, because he's really not going to say anything, and I always forget that it's your birthday, and I, would say happy birthday, but I also happy belated birthday, Merry Christmas, and how is that cold doing? By the way, welcome to Youth Central Sports, Charles Morse with the original Coach Carter. Coach, how's the cold? Happy belated birthday, and how was your Christmas?
Okay, Cole's doing so much better. I'm actually not contagious, and my players allow me to come around now. Thank you for the belated birthday. Turn another year, and I'm excited about that. And the weather up here is actually, we got a heat wave going. It's up in the 40s. So we're really excited.
Well, then you got some good weather. The temperatures in the 40s. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Don't go out there and try to get a tan in your swimming trunks. But temperatures in the 40s, that's a good thing.
I know better. I know the difference between 40 and 80. So I understand it's still cold and I'm still wrapped up. But I'm enjoying it. It's good. It's great. Weather. Other than that, the weather's really good. Great holiday. Great holiday.
Right. And happy you had a good Christmas. And I don't know if you remember this, but there was a friend of mine that you had talked to a while back. She was from Flint, Michigan. And I don't know if you remember her. Her name was Mary.
I do remember.
Right.
I do remember that.
Okay. She told me to tell you hi. Surprisingly, she reached out to me on Facebook today and said, hey, guess what? I'm in Orlando. I was like, what? She goes, yeah, me and my daughter, we're flying to Puerto Rico. And for some odd reason, she thought the layover was in Miami. So she called me. Well, she sent out like 11 o'clock. And her plane doesn't leave till like 11 o'clock tonight. Well, actually right now. So the layover is like 12 hours. So they went to some apartment, something that you can rent, and they did a Uber. And then I went to see her because I hadn't seen her in years. And her daughter, when I first started talking to her, her daughter was in middle school. Wow. So now her daughter will be 25, like in a couple of months.
Ooh, my goodness, time is
was a good basketball player, by the way, because we still tease about how she couldn't make layups back then, but ended up getting a scholarship, finish, and she was thinking about going overseas, trying to get to the WNBA, tore her Achilles. She was out of it. She said she's just coming back, starting to really just walk right now. And she just said, the daughter said, I'm done, Mom. I don't want to do this. I want to do something else. And she was shocked because she said, all she knows her daughter was, loved sports and loved to play and da-da-da-da. And now the daughter just said, I'm done. I want, I'm happy living out in California now. And so she decided, my daughter and I, we're going to take a trip to Puerto Rico, thinking the layover was in Miami, till they looked at the paperwork when they landed and say, no, we're in Orlando. And so I went to, say hi to her for a minute. She told me to tell you hi.
Well, tell her I'm very happy to hear that. Glad she get a chance. You all got a chance to hang out. And her daughter, tell her, don't give it totally up. There's a lot in sports she can do. She's got a lot she could give back.
Yeah. And I was really surprised because her daughter loved to play basketball. She ended up getting a scholarship. She went to one school, I don't forget where it was, but she did end up the second school somewhere in Kentucky. And her final year last year, Mary said that the team she played for, even though they lost, they did play for the championship. So they made it all the way to the championship. Whatever team, I think it was a Division II team, and they made it to the championship. No. I'm saying because it's a Division II team, I don't remember the name of the school. Is what I'm saying. So
what I'm saying, the experience.
Oh yeah.
That's what everybody's working for at any level they can get to, even on the amateur level. Getting to the championship, big dance to the game.
Right. And we kind of had that conversation last week because you was talking about being part of the Elite Eight and what that felt like walking into the building. But you had a big basketball. You had a couple of games this past week, right? You had a couple of big games.
We did, and we're very blessed to report that we won both of them. We're 12-2 right now, 6-1 in our district, and we got 3 games tomorrow. We got a holiday tournament, so we got a
Okay.
game Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So had practice today. Practice looked pretty good. Kids recovered well from the holiday. They were off about 3 or 4 days. So we're gonna hit it tomorrow about 4 o'clock. We'll be on the court trying to put the ball.
Okay. Well, I know when you first tuned in, you was like, well, there's a voice that I'm hearing. Then you finally saw the face, right? But it was actually was supposed to have been a surprise to you. But we was trying to get everything worked out, but we couldn't because of whatever it is that's going on. So you wasn't supposed to see none of that. So it was supposed to have been a surprise to you. And we still trying to work out the audio, so it may be a little fuzzy, skipping, but we're going to fix it at some point in time. So, but what I wanted to do was I wanted to introduce you to a friend of mine that we've been friends for years. And she used to be an anchor here at the NBC affiliate. And this is Miss Tina Douglas. And I was teasing her because Tina, who I said, for some odd reason, she was living somebody else's life. And what I mean by that right? No, because she's a big sports fan. And instead of her being the sports anchor, Tina should have been the sports person. And she will admit it because she loves sports and she was good at, she's been in television, so she knows how many years? Well, anyway, this is Tina Douglas. And this is the original Coach Carter. Welcome to Youth Center.
Hello, Coach.
Hey, Tina, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm like you, getting over a cold and hanging on for a week.
Yeah, that's right. She was telling me that she was trying to get over a cold as well.
Yes. Yes.
Now, Tina and I go way back. What year did you leave Orlando, Tina? What year did you leave Orlando?
I left from 1995 to 2000.
So you left in.
So I've been gone for almost 19 years.
Oh wow!
Time has flown. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm used to like tuning in on Saturday mornings. And she would be, on Saturday mornings and whatever other shift that she had at the time. But so you came to Channel 2 in 1995?
I did. I came to WESH in July 1995, and I left there in May of 2000.
Okay. All right. And the other thing too, her and quite a few of the others helped me with, my co-hosting and some of the other things with my summit, back in the day, because I used to go around, part of the Central Florida Association of Black Journalists, and I used to say, you need to come help me, you come take part. And it's so funny to look back, Tina, you don't know this, but I played one of those old summits on my Journey show earlier this year. And I guess,
So what I was on with you?
Yeah.
I missed it.
Yeah, but the reason why I wanted her to come on the show, Vince, is because she really is into sports, and she's one of these. And she said, "Did you hear about the wrestler Vince who had to cut the hair? Did you hear about that?"
Yes.
Yeah. So she was going to do a little bit of research on that. But first of all, let me ask you this here, Vince. Right off the top of your head, not knowing the circumstances, situation, but when you heard that, what were you thinking? Like, well, what was this about? Where did your mind go when you heard that?
I thought it was insulting to the athlete when he was able to put his hair and pull his hair back, which in most cases would have been sufficient for him to perform the sport. They went yet to another length to require him to cut his hair, and that's not required. the protection of pulling the hair back so there's no facial contact that could either injure himself or other athlete involved, that is sufficient. But for that person to do that, that became personal. That's not sport anymore. That's social. That becomes a personal thing. And I thought it was an insult to have this. Now, if I had been my child, he would not have wrestled that evening. Because I'm not going to alter him in any way. His ability to what he looks like has nothing to do with his ability to perform the sport. And for them to stand there and do that to him, I thought was an absolute insult to the integrity of the sport, the integrity of the school, and the association, the officiating association. And they would be looking at possibly being sued for me.
Oh, well, there wouldn't have been no doubt over in my corner. Wouldn't have been no doubt about that. Tina, you said you was going to do a little research on that. What did you find out on that?
Well, it's been the topic. It's been the topic of conversation all day. What we found out is that there was some emergency board of education meeting. This happened in South Jersey, by the way, to figure out what the next move should be. His parents have hired a lawyer. There says through the parents that that they feel like their son was singled out because of his race and his ethnicity. That the referee that ordered him to cut hair off for the match got to the match late, so he was not able to look at some of the possible violations before the match started. They had like 90 seconds to make this decision because he got there late. The match was about to start. And then he decides that Andrew Johnson is the wrestler's name. His hair was too long. Well, their regulations say your hair can't be below your earlobes. His hair was barely below his earlobes. And if he'd been wrestling all year, in fact, up until this moment, he had been wearing something over his head. I used to go to wrestling matches all the time, and I was over their head because they had longer hair. So if you're able to do that up until this point, it kind of makes it look like the young man was singled out for something. It's just insulting, initiating. The guy won the match, but you could tell he'd been deflated because of what happened beforehand. So I expect some legal action to take. It is under investigation by the state's Civil Rights Division through the Attorney General's office. So after this whole video went viral, people just went crazy on Twitter and everywhere else talking about how this seemed to be aimed at him because of his race.
No,
I'm sure you haven't heard the last of it.
Now, what's surprising to me is that it's Jersey. If it had been Mississippi, if it had been South Carolina, if it had been a southern state, I wouldn't have been as shocked. I still would have been shocked. But anywhere, Jersey, New York, Philadelphia, anywhere up in there, and this is Jersey, that's, man, Vince, help me out, man. Help me out.
Well, I get the sentiment, and I agree with you, but the fact that bothers me, you got a governing body that's supposed to be overlooking for the best welfare of the sport and the child, and you allow something like this to take place. One of the things that was said to mention about this young man's hair back and put that rubber band and fun, it met all qualifications even at that time. So there was no need to cut his hair for any reason at all. So again, we got a social stigma, we got a social that's being put into a capacity, which is by law and by rules of any athletic competition is illegal. It is illegal. Now so far from Tina have suspended him from further any participation of any matches until this has been resolved. I think it's an even greater issue that to be looked at is the mindset of who you have out there representing the organization. The organization would even have to stop to investigate. That's wrong right off the bat. He had no authority to me, and from what if I was me, if I was officiating by it, he'd have been fired. And then we would have looked at it from there.
Well, I think people are calling for that. I think there will be some ramifications for this man for doing this to this guy. I mean, Yeah, he'd been wearing his hair pulled back up until this point. And so it's
Right.
kind of like what made him decide that you had to cut it off.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. His reasoning for what he felt was valid for having that, and to have it done on the spot and unprofessionally, young man had just cut randomly. No, I mean,
Right.
just so many embarrassing situations, one after another.
wow.
Yeah, it was embarrassing for him. It was humiliating for him.
But actually to me, I mean, I get it. He's young. To me, it's more embarrassing for whoever made that decision. There's something like I if we were in Trump land,
It's
I
more
would
you
get
can't explain
that.
it.
It's just mind-boggling. I just don't know how you at this point stage at that time on that stage gonna make that decision like that. I mean, that's just crazy to me. Especially
Well,
he's been
remember
wrestling
now,
this way the entire season.
the issue here is
Yeah, I mean,
it's a much bigger issue. We're looking
right.
at someone systematically making a decision that's indirect with the overall idea of what they're representing. That's not what sport is about. Sport is not about an end in that particular. It's about the ability for him to go out and compete. In what way did this hinder him from competing? It's somebody's personal decision. It's somebody who feels like I don't like that. Well, then that's not your call. If the rules allow it, it is what it is. And especially when this young man was able to adjust from you didn't like the length, he pulled the hair up. What now we wrestle. What I look at now, we go, if you don't like it, then you go and say, hey, I don't like this part of the rules. Let's have some discussion on that. But you created a student athlete competing in a competition, a public competition, and you alter his appearance to something he doesn't like simply to be comfortable with it. You need to show me some rules of that.
Yeah.
It's
There's some.
no.
The story's not over. I know that. The story is not over because, yeah, I'm not sure what the outcome was after tonight's meeting. I'm sure there are a lot of people there that want the board, the school, to take action against this ref. And from what I've heard, he's not being allowed to ref any more wrestling matches until they do resolve why this happened.
Yeah, well, I did hear that he was suspended. I did hear that he was suspended, which is, but Vince, like you said, I mean, if that had been my child at that point, it would have been all right, okay, done.
Well, he's
done.
still we're going home. We're going home. McDonald's or Burger King or whatever it is, steakhouse, we're gone for the night. And we'll address that tomorrow. But the fact that I must applaud the young man for his dedication and integrity to the sport, despite his embarrassment, and that he went head on and engaged in the sport. And that's true sportsmanship. Taking on the burden of the sport, taking on all those obstacles that are around you, and still going ahead and being committed and performing. I applaud him for that, but I also am upset that he would have to do it under those conditions.
Yeah, that is
exactly. Exactly. I don't know. It's a lot of intangibles. So if they aren't have open foundation, this may be a while.
All right. Okay, Vince. You usually have an update for us, whether or not it's the North Carolina Tar Heels, which if Tina, if you don't know, he's a big Tar Heel fan because his son went there. Oh, by the way. Hey, check it out though. What's up with the Hawks, man? They've been playing some good ball lately in the last 3 or 4 games. What's up with the Hawks?
Well, it's a
Oh, by the way, Vince, she lives in Atlanta. So what's up with the Hawks?
Oh, well, I'll let you
well, I mean, they lost tonight, but they did a very good game. It was a good game. It's tough to win in the NBA. It's a tough business. It's a tough schedule. It's tough to win, but they've been doing pretty well. Like you said, over the last week, they pulled off a pretty good win against, I know, Washington, and won some games they weren't expected to win.
Right.
So I don't know if they've won 10 games yet, though. They're right at 10 games.
They're close to 10 games.
Yeah.
In fact,
Hey, Vince. It's so funny because always at the beginning of the NBA season and after a few games, and not that the Hawks are going to be that, but it's almost like you do not want to repeat the Philadelphia 76ers. Because that whole season, they won 9 games, the entire season. 9 games. And so when the season starts, you'd be like, well, however your season may be, and you can, not necessarily the Hawks, but I'm saying in general, whatever that NBA team is, I know they be saying, come on now, we cannot be the Philadelphia 76ers. I mean, if we end up winning 11 games, okay, but we cannot be the Philadelphia 76ers. Because I can only imagine, you know what? I can't imagine. I can't imagine playing 82 games and only winning 9. And I'm trying to say, I wonder what that season was like and what the conversation was going on in the locker room. Because
the Hawks at this time are 9-24. So
okay.
They really, and that's probably higher than most people thought they would win anyway. And they still got some games to win. They're a young team. They're exciting. They're explosive, and they're growing. And the expectation certainly is not this year. We're talking maybe another 2 years out before, but they're more competitive than people thought they would be. And that's a testament to theirs and to the coaching staff. And obviously management. I hope management will continue to be patient, let them work it out. They are exciting to watch. They really are exciting to watch, but they're inexperienced. They're young, a lot of young players, and that you just can't overcome experience with young players. But they are fun to watch.
Okay, now, I'm not a Magic fan. I'm not a Magic fan. But I was kind of surprised the way they was playing earlier. Like they always kind of taper off, eventually during the season. And they seem to be a good shooting team. But they seem to be 1, maybe 2 players away from being a playoff team, which I mean, coming in the playoff maybe as an 8 seed, a 7 seed, maybe a 6 seed. But they seem to be about 2 players away from being a playoff team that could at least be the 7th or 8th seed.
I actually think they're more than 2 players away, but I will say this, is that they're playing a much more inspired brand of ball this year, and I think that has to do with the experience. You got to give teams time to gel. You got to give players time to mature. And that's the charge of the organization. Let the coaching staff get in and do their job. And one of their jobs is to help this team mature, improve on these guys' skill level. And you're seeing a little bit of that in this transition right now. So hopefully they will be patient with the current staff and let them continue to work. And then they got to do it through the draft, and then they got to do it through free agency. Orlando, to my surprise, is not as attractive as most people thought it would be. From a tax standpoint and all that. So it's plenty to do there, but they've got to do a better job of making it a destination. And I think you do that by allowing them to mature as an organization. You got to put your time in, and then in 2 or 3 years, if they would sit back and let these guys do this thing, in 3 years or so, they may be at a situation where they can get the players they need to get them over. Plus, these players will mature some, and they're going to be playing better ball. So, this thing of we're going to go out and get some players and throw them on a team. Well, you can do that, but it's going to take time for that to work. And the Magic has not had any patience. Plus, they got a lot of non-basketball people involved with the program down there. So they've thrown away more money and more talent than you can ever imagine.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
I heard one of the announcers. I heard one of the announcers said that they've been non-competitive 6 years in a row. So the thing is, it's like, what are you like? I was watching the game.
He's incorrect, Charles. They haven't been competitive. They've been non-competitive for 12 years.
Vince, I was trying to be nice, man.
Wow,
I was
that's
trying to be
been
nice. I was trying to be nice. but what I'm saying is, like, I was watching the game, I think it was day before, or maybe yesterday, and I looked and I was like, oh, man, there's nobody in the seats. You know, I'm watching, and not the game that, because they lost by 2 tonight, and I did happen to come in when there was like 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. The game went into overtime, and they didn't even score in overtime. Actually, Phoenix only scored 2 points in overtime, so they won 122-120, and the game went in overtime. But some of the games that I've seen, they seem to be a pretty good shooting team, but I say it like the last 2 or 3 years, I don't know anybody on the team. You know, I honestly don't. And the only reason that I knew the guy Gordon was because he was in the dunk contest. That's the only reason I know that guy. But I really don't know anybody. I don't know any of those guys on the team. And Oladipo, who I'm still trying to figure out, like, how did they let him go? Because he's like one of the better players in the league now, you know, for Indiana.
Well, again, one of the things that happens so many times, and I don't know that I really understand it every time it happens, is it has to do with salary cap. It has to do with moving money to make space to get other players. And you move commodity. This is something somebody wants. Let me give you this so I can get this for that. And I don't really have a problem with that, except they haven't gotten anything. And then the players that they get, they don't allow these guys the opportunity to grow and get better. Now, is that coaching? Or is that just talent? One of the two, but you don't really know because they don't get a chance to stay together long enough. Making those trades, bringing those young, I think they go young and start from the bottom up. If they were allowed a coach to do that and be patient, it's going to take 3 to 5 years for that to mature, unless you get lucky and you can bring in some agency. But you can build on that, but you got to sit patient and let this guy let the organization do its job. Let the coach do his job. There's no patient enough to.
Vince, and we talked about it before they fired the coach, but it's just interesting when organizations and when teams and managers, owners do this, when they give them non-players, then they fire the coach. So it's like you have non-players that I don't care if you had 24 basketball brains in there. There's nothing you can do with this team other than what they're already doing. But in order for you to seem like you're doing something, you fire the coach, but you don't have anything to win with. And that always just blow my mind.
You always go after the coach because the coach is responsible for the culture. And and there's 2 things. Well, there's 3 things. Number one, he's responsible for the culture. He's responsible for development. And he's responsibility for them putting a strategy together for them to get out and play. Now, obviously, sometimes when players don't follow that, we need to be looking at the players. But what happens a lot of times when you see this happen, and you later listen to it, later you'll find out, do some more investigation. He's lost the locker room. They're not listening to him anymore. You know, they aren't responding to what he's. So then you get rid of, because it's cheaper to get rid of the coach than it is to get rid of the player. It's a much easier task. I mean, it just is. I mean, it costs less, but you want to get a different voice in there. You take, for instance, the Packers. The Packers were rolling right along and needed a new voice. The coach had locker room. And Rodgers and them, they were bumping heads. They couldn't agree anymore. He's losing the locker room. And not only is he in conflict with his number one player, coordinators, everybody's not on the same page. The team is not listening to the coaching staff. And it's going to result in losses. And I thought they should have let him finish the year out, and personally, but nevertheless. So a lot of times that's why coaching, he's always on the line. Or she is always on the line. Sometimes for things they can't control. When players just stop playing, what are you going to do? What do you do?
But Vince,
you try to motivate the other players.
Honestly, I think today's athlete and the whole mindset, I think that is geared toward that they have given so much power or empowerment to the players. I mean, I just don't think it's a good thing, because if they have empowered the players so much that it's just easy now to fire a coach, because they have empowered the players so much. And that's on all major sports. It doesn't matter, baseball, football, basketball, hockey. It just, because they've given so much power to the players.
Well,
that's funny you said that, because I was talking to somebody last night about all the games that were on yesterday and how I feel that a lot of the NBA players are now rather disrespectful to the refs. I mean, they question every call, they're in their face, they contest each call, and rarely does the ref change the call. But years ago, if you talked to the ref, you were teed up. But they don't do that anymore. They let the players do this, and I just think that that's another difference I've seen over the last few years with the players in the NBA contesting every call. I mean, it's like, I don't respect what you called, so I'm going to get in your face and try to get you to change it, and he rarely does. The ref rarely makes a change to the call.
Yeah.
That's the league's fault. The league has wanted to make the referee invisible on the floor. 100% on that. Nobody came to see the referee. I get that. But if you're going to have the referee out there, you've got to allow the referee to do his job. And they've given them guidelines on how they want to take place. But I fault the league for allowing that to take place, because there's a time and place where, and every NBA referee I've ever talked to wants to have as much respect to the player as he possibly can. But he wants that kind of respect back. At least give him that kind of respect. Especially these young players today, they're just bumping. I think you got to take them up. It slows the game down. Nobody wants to see that. I understand that. But if the ref does not have control of the game, we're going to get bad calls, we're going to get injuries, and we're going to have fights.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, it's changed.
Yeah. Well, it's just, I don't know. I mean, we've talked about it before, Vince, and that is now that these players aren't professional basketball players anymore. They're rock stars, and that's how we treat them, and that's how they go about their lives every day, and it's just interesting that it's expected now from the fans and just the whole thing. Like, for an example, even now when I look at something like ESPN and how they do the setup for, let's just say it's an award show, or how they put the players up on the screen, and how they try to give them personalities and all these things that they do. If it's the Heisman and they got them pointing at the camera and all these things that they do now, and with the whoosh and the sounds and the blood, and sometimes it's too much for me. Coming from television and understanding the concept, understanding the mindset, understanding what they're trying to do and how they're trying to promote and how they're trying to put it out there. And it's just like the sport itself can't be good enough, but it always has to be bigger, brighter lights, bigger than life. And sometimes, to me, it's just overwhelming, and sometimes it's just too much that, for me, a lot of times, it's a turnoff. And like, for an example, a lot of times they try to build it up and try to build it and give it the hype. And sometimes I think they give a hype, and I think sometimes they kind of mess up those young kids. And like a perfect example is, what's the guy? What's the quarterback that played for the Jets? But he's no longer with the Jets. The Jets drafted him, and I'm trying to think of his name. He was there for a little while, and he came out and stated, because he didn't get drafted in the position that he thought he was going to be, and they didn't give him the hype that he thought that he should have gotten, that he was upset about it. Now, I can't think of his name. He was drafted by the Jets. He played there for a while, and he's not a good quarterback. He's been a backup, and I'm going to have to look him up, because once I say his name, you're going to know who he is. And but he was a perfect example of, he was upset because he wasn't part of the hype. And then he comes into the league, and he wasn't. He could have lived up to the hype anyway because he wasn't a good quarterback, you know. But this whole concept, and Tina, you understand how we in television and how we do in the promotions and the whole hype of it all. But sometimes it's just, and I understand it's about the money, you know, because Vince, we were having the whole thing about how the game has evolved into what I personally think is more not necessarily the game, it's just sheer entertainment, and that's what they try to do, just try to make it entertaining. But my point of view is I can never look at it that way because I'm not a fan that way. I come in watching the game from the competitiveness part of it, or playing the game, and I look for it to be competitive. I'm not looking to change the NBA to make it 8 seconds across the half court line versus 10, because to me, I'm thinking that's crazy. Like, why you got to change it to 8? You know, that makes no sense to me. And so it's just little things like that they do, and all this stuff that they try to, which you know, you say the game has evolved, and to me, the game is fine. I think there's something wrong with us.
Well, you have to.
But like you said it right. They treat them like rock stars, so they believe in the hype too, and so they have all these things to live up to, and then when it doesn't happen, the media can be pretty mean, and I'm part of the media, but the media can be pretty mean when they start describing players, when they start looking at what they have done and what they haven't done, when they start looking at their stats, when they start comparing them to other players. It's a lot to live up to. And I think some of the guys, like you said, are young and they get into the league and they don't realize that they've got to deal with all this other added pressure. And that just makes it even more pressure to perform. You've got to perform, and then you've got to live up to all these other things that are out there. So it's part of what our society is now.
It is, and it's what it is a lot of time you're seeing the problems at the NBA level, but this problem has existed since elementary school for some players. It pushed him because of his talent, not because of his intellect, his IQ. And he had a level that he performed like else, but he still doesn't know. He's still a young, immature individual, and he, as you pointed out, he gets by all this hype, and he gets dumped this league. Now we got to try to deal with that. From at that level, a grown man talking to a grown man who acts like a child. So that's another issue. Let me take you back to when David Stern became commissioner of basketball after Larry O'Brien. David Stern was a part of the reason that made this thing more commercialized and blew the game up to make it not only expose it more as a entertainment value, which it is. That's what it is. And he blew it up by putting it in more on television, getting more television, which created more revenue that everybody could share in. The game is an entertainment. It is entertainment, no matter how you look at it. The rules of the game have been swayed to try to make the game more entertaining. I get that just from evolution and growing up on the game. But these personal behavior issues, those that's internal. That's not being responsible, as I see it, from the league standpoint with it. You know, I'm not a fan of the one and done. I think you need to stay in school to mature a little bit more. There are some exceptions. You're going to have to deal with that exception. Just going to college and taking up space and then jumping to the NBA. And a lot of those guys are petering out. They go away. You never hear from them again. You know, so I think those are the kind of issues and challenges they need to be looking at. And we need to back it off to youth basketball, because we are building that next headache right now at youth basketball by making him or her an exception rather than having them play and apply and learn the skill. Mark Cuban made a controversial statement the other day that he thought that youth basketball should model itself after the European model, that those kids are better prepared to come over and play. I disagree with that, but I understand the concept of what he's saying is that they focus on the skill, not the hype, not the glimmer and glamour. They get the fundamental of the game and come over and play. Well, that's just the nature of where they come from. But who are their coaches? They all come from over here. They're all, the 90% of coaches overseas are coaches that come out from the U.S. So it's one hand feeding the other while the other hand bites the other hand. I mean, it's crazy what's going on. It has changed the entertainment value. It has increased it in one sense and made it so enjoyable, but it also complicated it to the point that you're not sure if you're gaining or losing. The game, I still love the game. I still love the game. I think put the ball in the hole, still put the ball in the hole. That hasn't changed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Three things. One, Rick Pitino. See, he's coaching overseas.
I knew that. I knew that.
Oh,
was gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because those people don't care nothing about what they as long as he don't do it for them, they don't care. I think that's wrong, because moral issues should be put in his contracts, so moral clauses should be. But I doubt very seriously they will be.
Okay, two.
So is he coaching the national team?
He's going to be coaching a European team, not the national.
That's what I meant. A professional team.
Yes, a professional team. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Wow, I didn't know that.
Two. Wanted to ask you about players who saying that they don't want to play in the bowl game because they're making themselves eligible for the draft. And three. Tina said something about UCF and being undefeated, and I told her that you and I kind of go back and forth with that whole thing, and there should be more than 4 teams, and I think it's a buddy system. They really don't care about a true number 1 team. And the money is there. There's more money to go everywhere. But that buddy system, it's just stuck. It's stuck right there. So we talked about Rick Pitino. Should if a player don't want to play, they don't want to play. They got a bowl game coming up. They say they're trying to get ready for the draft. They don't want to play. And the whole thing about the system, and if you go undefeated, it's for some odd reason they go about what they see.
Palatable.
That's not what sports is.
The league accepts the fact that this young man says, "I'm not going to play because I want to enhance my draft value. If I'm drafting you, you just lost your draft value to me because you aren't willing to get in and participate with your schools for the opportunities that they have at chance. Everybody's at chance." And I'm old school when it comes to that. I think that's right. And I think anytime I see a player do that, unless it's a justifiable reason, you have a slight injury or something to that effect, I can appreciate. But simply to save yourself for draft value, no. that's not sportsmanship. In my opinion, that's just in my opinion. And this is something that's been happening most recently, and that's something I'm totally in disagreement with.
Rock stars.
Yeah.
Rock stars.
I think they're rock stars. I think they're pampered babies.
I've been seeing a lot of players opting out, and I really didn't understand why, but now I do. I mean, yeah. I didn't understand that this was the name. So they could be the bowl games just don't much to them anymore.
I mean, that's baby stuff. Come on, you worried about getting hurt? Are you serious? So you don't want to get hurt in a bowl game, but you want to go to training camp and get your brains knocked out and you can't play no more. What's the difference? The risk is the same. You're playing for the honor of what's across your chest. You earn that. My school earned the right to play in a bowl game. I could be the number 1 draft choice. Now I may ask not to play the whole game, but I want to play. I earned the right as a team member to be there. And I want to participate. Now, I may say, coach, let me play a quarter or let me play a half or whatever, but I'm going to play. But that's not where we are today. And that way is that we allow it. That's the problem.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That makes me sick.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Now, Tina was talking about
games used to mean a lot more, I guess, than they do now.
Yeah.
Hey,
no.
Go ahead, Vince.
No. You go ahead about UCF because I'm a UCF. I think they're playing against LSU Friday. Is it? No. They're
playing on the 1st.
Okay,
they're playing on the 1st.
Okay. I think, and to your point about the buddy system, there has been a collective conversation about trying to while at one point they kind of said the current format, we're good with it, but now there's so much opposition coming up on it. Now they got to try to look to see what can I do next. What can I do? So a UCF now will be penalized until we come up with a better system, because now if they win this game, that means they're 25-0 over the last 2 seasons,
right?
Something like that. Listen, somebody got to sit down and they need to write a letter of apology to UCF and say, listen, you got a new system, but we need to apologize for you guys because you did exactly what we've asked the other 4 teams to do. That's exactly what you did. And this thing about strength of schedule, I'm having a headache with that because we can't get an equal strength of schedule because not everybody can schedule everybody else they need to schedule. It can't happen. It just won't happen that way. So that's a poor excuse for that. I'm struggling with them on that. I want to say, guys, I understand your problem, but there's a better solution.
But
I
Vince,
don't have it though.
But Vince, I mean, surely off the cuff though. I mean, seriously. As long as I've been in sports, been watching sports, is sports not that in which you go out and you play? The strength of schedule, what my eyes see, sports is that whole thing, like that documentary 42-1, Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson. Sports is when Houston played North Carolina State, or when Villanova played Georgetown, or when Chaminade played Virginia, and all these upsets that has happened in the history of sports.
Right.
Because especially, Vince, and you know what I'm talking about, especially when you're dealing with young people, you don't know that quarterback the night before the girlfriend broke up with him. You know, the whole mindset and all the things that take place, and the things when the stars line up just right for the underdog, and that's what sports is. And then
that's sport.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. They're taking all of that away of what sports is about. You go out, you compete, and then that's it. But it's all this other stuff that has to do with how they do what they do.
I think the system
I mean, the system is about.
You got all okay. Instead of simplifying it, why? Here, the question I asked. Now, and this was part of my original concern. You don't have enough. You got a lot of teams that deserve the opportunity to increase their revenue base by playing in a postseason game. Now we got 50 bowl games. We got the Hamburger Bowl game. We got the Smoothie King Bowl. I mean, I think we just went too far. I mean, I'm glad everybody's playing. I'm glad everybody's gonna get a chance to get a part of the revenue pot. But my God, they had a oil change bowl the other day.
Everybody come to the game, get your oil change.
But I think I get it. I want to be understanding, but now we're going. So the national championship, we got it down to these teams. Everybody else, we got 6,000 bowl games. I mean, I'm like, why don't we reduce the number of bowl games and put more emphasis on getting the top teams? And so I'm confused. So I can understand. Hopefully, I don't get it. I don't get it. But it's good for everybody because it does allow some of the smaller market schools to participate in the revenue and get a little piece of that revenue pie.
That's the part of it. And I think it could be changing. I think you're right. I think that maybe in the future, because people are talking about, they think it should be more of a college playoff system where more teams are involved. Because you pick 4 and somebody every year is going to go, well, why didn't we get in? I mean,
exactly.
UCF is undefeated 2 years in a row, and they're not considered for any of this. But there's something. I think more and more people will be talking and push right folks that something will be changing and done about that. I do believe that,
I believe that
the playoff system will probably expand to involve more teams.
All right. I think it's not as far away as we once thought it was. It's actually a lot closer now than we thought it was.
Yeah, I believe that too.
Well, Tina, as part of Youth Central Sports, one of the things that we do every week is that Mr. Vince Carter does a 3-minute sprint. He does a 3-minute sprint every week, and Vince, you're ready for your 3-minute sprint?
Absolutely. I ran a lap just so we got started, just so I be ready.
Okay.
And
Well,
Tina,
as part-
I asked
well,
you,
this
I
is-
asked you forgiveness before I get started.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
I
asked
will.
Tina forgiveness before I get started. Because I say some wild stuff, Tina. I say some wild stuff, Tina.
Okay.
All right. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. As a kid, what was your best Christmas gift ever?
Bicycle.
What was your worst Christmas gift ever?
Pair of skates.
Okay. When you were in high school, the best Christmas gift you ever got for your girlfriend?
Perfume.
Oh, okay. Have you ever broken up with your girlfriend at Christmas to keep her from getting her a gift?
No, I did that for Valentine.
But okay. Have you ever thought about it though?
No, I thought that was, oddly enough, I found Christmas sacred, but Valentine vulnerable.
While you were in college, did anyone ever try to get you to join a fraternity?
Yes.
Oh, when you were in college, did you ever date a girl that was pledging at the time?
Yes.
Oh, I wonder if they knew about that.
I don't think they did.
Have you ever got into an argument with a girl over a gift?
No.
No? Oh.
No.
Oh, okay.
I won't argue about that.
Oh, okay. Have you ever received a gift and you tried to return it for cash?
No, not for cash. I tried to exchange it, but I didn't want cash.
Well, have you ever purchased a clapper as a gift for someone? You know, clap on, clap off.
I knew no one I could give that to.
Oh, really? How old were you when you stopped believing in Santa Claus?
I think I was 50. No. I think around I think at 13, I actually stumbled on to Santa in the living room. So yeah.
The last time you saw Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer?
Last week.
Your favorite Christmas song or your favorite artist?
My favorite Christmas song is Little Drummer Boy.
Little Drummer Boy?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. The last time that you put up a Christmas tree?
Whoa, now that's been at least 10 years ago.
Oh.
10 years ago. At least 10 years ago.
And that's the 3-minute sprint there, Tina. That's how we do the 3-minute sprint.
I
And
bear
we
my
usually-
soul out here for 3 minutes.
Huh?
I bear my soul for 3 minutes. All my dark secrets come out.
And usually that's what we do, like right before we go into the NFL. And Vince is a serious Cowboy fan, and understand that the Cowboys has clinched, right, Vince? Okay. Okay. So
A little bit of news before we get there, though. Did you see here where Serena Williams was announced and voted to be Female Athlete of the Year for the 5th time? which I thought was really remarkable given the last championship and it had all that controversy. And she brought out a very good point about her objection and how it was handled, as opposed to, back in the McEnroe days. But great opportunity for her to get that. The Packers are looking at Caldwell. I don't know if you remember Jim Caldwell. Used to be with he's with Detroit Lions, and he was also with Indianapolis. Looking at a possibility for a head coaching job with the Packers,
Right.
Which I found very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And then you looked at Dirk Nowitzki had just moved into the 4th all-time in games played here as of the other night. Vince Carter has moved into number 7 for all-time 3-point shooting in the NBA. He's number 7 now. Most recently, the other night, he hit a real deep 3 that moved him into that elite category.
Right.
So this Tuiluda from Alabama, there's about an 80-85% chance right now that he might be ready to go. That's going to make that real interesting, in my opinion, to see whether or not he's ready to go, because that's going to change. Did you see that the Patriots? Now, here I heard recently that Brady supposedly is suffering an injury.
Oh, really?
He hasn't been discussing about. Won't discuss it probably until after the season. That he's been playing with an injury. I'm gonna wait to see how that plays out, because I think they're gonna play that based on how well they do or don't do. But I think they're in trouble. I think they're in deep trouble. Anyway.
Wait a minute. We didn't get to Josh Gordon. We didn't. Yeah, I mean, at first it came out as something else, but then we found out why. Because originally he was saying he was stepping away. Remember? I mean, I don't know if you heard the news first to say that he was stepping away for personal reasons. Then it came out why. Evidently, he didn't pass a drug test. You know?
Right. Yeah.
It's just like, wow, man, that brother, that brother got some demons, man. Woo.
Well, one of the things the NFL and the NBA are finding out, and I think you don't hear as much in Major League Baseball, but I'm sure it's there. The mental health in this country on the sports side, we know about it on the non-sports side, but it is heavily rampant on the sports side. Depression, suicidal tendencies, all those things that we don't associate with sport, but is a part of life. You're hearing a number of athletes who talk about their depression. And you wouldn't think that from some of those guys. I read something the other day that I thought was very poignant. I posted it, is that we look at the strong and think that they don't need anybody to check on them, when we need to be checking on the strong. And they were talking about, you remember Anthony Bourdain for CNN?
Yeah. For
you're talking
CNN.
about Robert Williams.
You're right.
Yeah, Robin Williams. Those guys would look like, especially Anthony. Anthony traveling all over the world, interacting with people, but had deep depression. No one thought to check on him because a lot of times the strong is the last one we need to check on. We don't check on the strong when they probably most time need it more than anybody else. So sport is a reflection of life. It is a mirror of what life is all about. And a lot of these athletes, man, they're great athletes. They're having winning programs and stuff, but they're suffering physically and mentally from some very large demons. And then they act out. And then nobody understands why. And then we do a little bit more research and find out that they're suffering from deep depression, chemical imbalances, codependency on drug and alcohol. And it's hurt sometimes, because I just cannot imagine that kind of euphoria playing the sport that you love, but have all these demons that you're running from day in and day out. So that's, my heart goes out to those guys. And it's shocking every time you hear it.
I wanted to actually talk about that more, because people don't know is that in that profession, you have worked professionally and you can bring a great deal more to the table than the average person because of where you have worked and the things in the programs and all the people you have seen come through the programs and the different type of addictions and sickness and illness, that mental illness and so on and so forth, because you can speak to that because you have worked in that field for a very long time. And so I did want to address that in perhaps next show, because I wanted to ask you about that with Josh Gordon. And I did want to talk about it because I think that's very important, because to me, again, I think we get lost in the sport and the dynamic of the sport itself, and not realizing, because we in this country, we don't deal with mental health too well. I mean, we don't know what to do with mental health. We have a lot of issues and the problems, especially in the prison system. Either we know, basically in this country, we either know how to, we know to lock them up or shoot them up, which means let me give you something to make you just, you know, so we can control you or something like that. So we don't deal with mental health too well in this country.
Now, and that's all across the spectrum, whether it be from youth, adolescents, or adult, young adult, or mature adults. It's something that we tend to shy away from. It's something we think will go away if we just ignore it long enough. It'll just go away. And I've seen evidence, and we see evidence every day, acted out in everyday life, that it won't go away. But also, the other part of that makes it more challenging too is that a lot of athletes aren't comfortable speaking out about their addictions or their illnesses or challenges and fears and things, because they feel that, you know, it shows a sign of weakness, when in fact it's a sign of strength. Because a lot of time when you get this stuff out in front of you, there's a lot of help out there for you. People will help you, but right now we don't know you need any help. We don't know that what you're facing. You know, I look at a Robin Williams, who I followed his career and I thought was fun as all get outdoors. Who would have ever imagined that he had those kind of demons behind the wall at home? And some of the athletes, you know, have come out, and Kevin Love playing basketball at the highest level, winning a few championships, going into corners and stuff like that. Who would have imagined that? So it's serious and rampant, and it looks like more and more, because I'm seeing NBA ads now that are talking about, I'm seeing, well, not necessarily NBA, but just ads that are addressing depression as a number one, which is a very strong indicator of where we are today. A lot of people are suffering from depression. You know, you got the holiday blues, and we used to think about that very casual, serious situation.
Well, Vince, next week, you know, we'll be coming off, we'll be going into a new year, and it'll still be part of, you know, the holidays. And like I said, I did want to address that and have you talk more on it. So let's talk about that next week. And because I have some questions that I like to ask you, because again, people don't know that is your field, and you have worked in that field for a very long time. And I know that you have seen a lot, you know, and all avenues of life for people that, you know, come in from what we like to think the rich versus, I mean, not versus, but the rich, the poor, you know, I know you've seen it all. You've seen people from all parts of life come in to your, where you was working the facility dealing with addictions, you know, and other things, you know. So I definitely would like to talk about that.
Yeah. And specifically, you know, too, we see a lot of that in sport too, and I think that's the thing I want to bring awareness to. A lot of these athletes, it's right in their wheelhouse. Okay. Right in their wheelhouse.
Well, let's talk about the last week of the NFL. And see, even though it's the last week of the NFL, and it happens every year, Vince, something weird always happens the last game of the regular season. It happens every year. So I'm looking to see what that game is, or who or what team. Yeah. The least you expected, it always happens.
So it's going to catch something by surprise.
Right. And it happens every year. So the Dolphins are playing the Bills. like who really cares? But the
Yeah, I
Dolphins are
mean,
playing the Bills.
but you would think that I'm going to give the Bills the edge on that, but watch it pop up and do something really crazy.
Okay. Oh, by the way, we lost Tina. I don't know what happened. Tina just disappeared. So she was having some internet problems, as you can tell, but we lost her. But
Okay.
I'm gonna see if I can get her back
Okay.
next week. Lions and Packers.
Ooh, I think the Packers are really trying to put it together, but I'm gonna give the Lions the edge to pull this out. They don't have neither one of them playing for anything, but I think the Lions is needed more than the Packers.
Gino. That's who I was trying to think of. The Jets quarterback, the one that I was trying to think of.
Uh-huh.
That's who I was. Gino. Because I just remember the Jets. It was Gino.
Right.
Yeah. Because he's on a scale from 1 to 10. I won't even say. But anyway, the Jets and the Patriots.
Well, you kind of got to go with the Patriots. The Jets are spiraling a little bit. I have to nod to Patriots on that one. But you never know, though. That could be one of those unusual situations at the end of the season that they could get beat.
The Panthers and the Saints.
I think the Saints got that hands down. Panthers in trouble.
Well, Cam is out. So,
Yeah. Yeah. That doesn't help.
yeah. Jaguars and the the Texans. Not the Titans, but the Texans.
Jaguars going to start Blake Bortles this time. The Jaguars are starting him for this game, but I think it's too late. I think the Texans win that.
The funny thing is that when you think of the Jaguars and where they were, I can make a comment on that playoff game last year, but it doesn't really matter. I just think that the coach made a really big. I hate when coaches coach to not. They don't coach to win. They coach not to lose, and that's what their coach did in the playoff last year. He coached not to lose versus trying to play to win. But it's interesting how they were talking about that defense for the Jaguars should be good for the next 4 or 5 years, and I don't know what happened to them this year. So I think they end up.
You can have, you have I think a lot of time you put them on the field a lot. Offense is not able to produce, and they need some time to rest because you put them out there, and they're going to crack after a while. They're going to crack after a while because you want your offense to be able to sustain a drive that allow those guys to get a breathing, and they're 3 and out, and I think that's wore them down.
The Falcons. Let me see, the Falcons and the Buccaneers.
Well, I haven't had a whole lot of faith in the Falcons, but the Bucs look like they want to do a little something against the Cowboys. But I'm gonna go with the Falcons. I think the Falcons roll past the Buccaneers.
Yeah, actually, the Buck made some kind of like really bad plays, mental breakdowns on that game against the Cowboys. The Raiders and the Chiefs.
Well, I think the Chiefs wins, although the Raiders trying to show a little spunk. It's going to be interesting to see how well John Gruden is able to put his team together for next year, because he had to piece it together this year. He's got some draft choices. He's got some people he's got that fits his mold. Let's see what he can get done in the offseason, but I don't think they beat the Chiefs.
Cardinals and the Seahawks.
I think the Seahawks will take care of the Cardinals.
49ers and the Rams.
Boy, I tell you what, you got to go with the Rams, though. Although the Rams have been faltering just a little bit, I still think they'll take care of the 49ers.
Chargers and the Broncos.
The Broncos are in trouble. They're getting ready to have a major shakeup there, where I think they're going to go right through the whole team, the coaching staff, and all. So, but I think the Chargers are rolling along. They're still on a mission. I think the Chargers are the team to beat.
Bears and the Vikings. The old rivalry right there.
Old rivalry right there. That's the black and blue division in my mind. Chicago kind of surprised me the last time I saw them, so I'm gonna give them a swing. I'm gonna step out on the limb and go Chicago over the Vikings.
The Browns and the Ravens.
I tell you what, the Browns have surprised the stink out of me. They really come together and play some decent decent football. They shouldn't be able to beat the Ravens, but I'm gonna get them a nod. I'm gonna get them a nod.
The Bengals and the Steelers.
Now the Steelers, without a shadow of a doubt, should beat the Bengals. If they don't do that, they're in deep trouble.
Your favorite team, the Redskins and the Eagles.
I really don't care, but because of Fran, I'll go with the Eagles.
The Colts and the Titans.
Now that could be interesting. Mariota was released today. He didn't practice today, but he's been released from concussion protocol. So it's going to be interesting. I'm gonna go with the Titans.
Okay. How about your Cowboys and the Giants?
Listen, I got to go with the Cowboys. I gotta go. I gotta go. Cowboys. Against,
Mama, don't let your baby grow up to be Cowboys.
I tell you what, definitely don't let them grow up to be a Redskin.
Oh, have you heard anything more about LeBron and his injury?
Supposedly his MRI came back was negative.
Okay.
So he's day to day now, but he definitely was definitely is not playing tomorrow. But he should, and then after that he's day to day. He's day to day.
Okay.
They were talking about that. I was reading something about that early on. I think you notice he had a reference on Twitter regarding. I didn't actually read it. It was on Instagram from a rap song, and it talked about Jewish money. He offended some people, and he actually came back and wrote an apology for that. It seemed to be really pretty well received, which I thought was kind of interesting. Yeah, because he normally doesn't swing that way, but he was something from a rap song of which I'm not familiar with.
those guys. I know that's a whole nother subject there, Vince. I started to go somewhere, but man, we already run, but I started with never mind. No, I was gonna say, like, a lot of those times when those guys are and I get you want to express yourself, I get that you can do, but Vince, what has not already been said and what that we don't already know? I mean, you see what I'm saying? And what I was going to say, you know what? It's great that you can express yourself, but what is it that you're going to say that has not already been said? What is it that you're going to express that's going to make me go, oh, I didn't know that? So when is it that you're going to start doing something versus, with your songs, and when you're going to start doing something, So that's my whole thing. It's just like, I get it. I'm a black man living in America. So what is it? There's a lot of things that I haven't been through, but I know. So I get the story, but when you going to do something to change it, and versus you just wanting to rap about it, that's where I wanted to go with it. But that's a whole nother story. So anyway.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say that we have to look at the narrative and match the narrative against reality.
Yeah.
And I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but it's like the same song, but with a different beat. You're not saying anything different than what has not already been said. It's just a different beat.
True. I mean, well, life itself repeats itself.
Right. There's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah, it repeats itself. You just repeating something someone else has said. You just didn't hear it today. That's all.
Right.
And in the business, in the speaking business, we always borrowing from someone else. someone else's supposedly you original idea, which there are very few original ideas anymore. We all borrowing from somebody, or twisting, and there's nothing wrong with that. But let's understand that to be what it is.
Well, I mean, I mean, but we have the original Coach Carter.
And anything else beyond it is an imposter. So I mean, you got imitators, but you don't have the originator.
All right, you were saying that you got some important games coming up, right? You say you got some important games coming up.
Well, we got a holiday tournament starting tomorrow. We'll play tomorrow afternoon, and then we play Friday, and then we'll play on Saturday, and then we'll be off for a few days, and then we come back into district play January 8th. So next task of these next three teams that we got to go against this weekend should be very good for us. It's very interesting. And one of the things I like about a dichotomy in style, so the kids are going to get a chance to play three different styles of ball, with the challenge of having only today to practice. Everything else would be a matter of adjustment, a pregame adjustment, a little shoot-around adjustment, and then we get out on the floor and play, which I think will be good for the kids. Good for us as coaches to be able to put that together, but then for them to be able to execute that. So it should prove to be interesting.
Okay. All right, and you're having a heat wave because the temperature's in the 40s.
In the 40s, we might be barbecuing tomorrow if it gets up. If it hit the 50s, boy, we might be in shorts and t-shirts. You never know.
Right. It's funny because I was telling you that I saw Mary today, and mind you, the temperature was in the 70s. As a matter of fact, I went motorcycle riding today. I took my motorcycle out today, and I asked her, I said, so what was the weather like when you left Flint, Michigan? And she was like, whoo. So she was like, whoo.
And they got some bad weather coming too.
Yeah.
I was noticing a weather report last night. It's going to, in my area, we're going to get cold air a little later, but no snow. But the snow is going right past us and going right up in that area. And they're getting ready to get dumped some serious snow. We're forecast for no snow this year, but cold temperatures. We've had one little snowfall, and it didn't last 3 hours, and it was gone. But we've gotten the cold temperatures, so I'll take it. I'll take it.
I got you. Well, I truly understand. Well, with that being said, I'm going to be looking at that Giants Cowboy game. And I think I'm more interested in that Chicago Viking game because I think that's an impact on the Eagles.
Yeah,
well. And there's another game that impact the Eagles. So it'll be interesting to see if they make it.
Cowboys need to help themselves, but we're in pretty good shape now. We just got to get ready for the playoffs. Probably we might even lose that game because we're gonna get the starters a break, whatever. But we clinched the division. That's the most important thing right now. Let's go Cowboys.
Yeah. All right. Well, want to say that this is the original Coach Carter, and where we come to you every Wednesday at 11 p.m., 10 o'clock his time, and where we would say, as the original Coach Carter would say, sports is more than just a game.
Just a game. Amen. Amen.
All right, you make sure that you subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Periscope. So we enjoy you, and we enjoy each other. So thank you for joining us, and
please
hope
give
you had
my
a
best
Merry,
to
Merry
Tina.
Christmas. And
please holler at Tina.
We're gonna holler at Tina, and we want to thank Tina for joining us. And in her next life, she is going to be a sports reporter.
Amen.
And so, want to say, have a happy New Year. Stick to those New Year's resolutions, whatever that is. And again, have a happy New Year. Be safe. Don't drink and drive. Use Uber. But have a fun time. All right. Blessings to you and all from Youth Central Sports and the original Coach Carter.
Good night.